looks like everything's working. You can tell it's noon because they're testing the tornado sirens here, as they do during the summer every Saturday at noon. With the windows open, you might be able to hear it. But, yeah. Hello to everybody out here watching. It's been a busy month. It's been a very busy month. And so, readjust a bit here. I hope that you folks are all doing well. Some of you I relatively recently saw. Mac the Maker is in chat. I saw him 2 weeks ago at TMX. Just gonna pop out the chat here. Do that. When I was setting this up, XSplit was like, oh, hey, there's been a problem, and because last time you didn't properly close XSplit, do you want to open to the old thing, or do you want to do a new thing, or what do you want to do? And I was like, last time I didn't properly, and I'm like, oh, that's right, because the last Every Other Sunday show crashed at the end of the show. So, well, it wasn't, it may not have been the software's fault. It's more likely just Windows' fault. So, yeah. Let me see, who have we got? We've got Mac the Maker, we've got VJ Morph, we've got Twerch, Useful G, Jesse Daniel. We've got more than that, too. Participants. Well, no, it just shows that participants, not people who are actually watching. So that's interesting. All right. So, anyway, yeah, it's been a long month so far. Well, or since the last time that we did this show. In 4 weeks, I went to 4 different conventions, and including one that I was running. So that, at least I got to sleep in my own bed at night, but there was a good amount of work. And the last convention last weekend was to Columbus, Ohio, to Origins, which is the second biggest gaming convention in the United States. And it was, the flights were just rough, not like bumpy, but just normally I don't have problems like that with Delta, but there were issues like, you know, delayed and not canceled flights, but very long delayed and stuff like that. And on the way back, I had to sit at one point from Columbus to Atlanta, because I had to go Columbus to Atlanta and then up to Milwaukee. I had to sit next to a gentleman who was, I believe, perhaps at least a college football player, if not a professional football player. And I'm a big guy, but he was just like, and so I was sitting like this most of the time until the drink cart came, because I was in the aisle row, and then it was a lot of like this, and then I sort of twisted my back at one point. Anywho, that's enough of complaining in that. Let me see here. We've got, who else have we got? We've got Emily. Hey, Emily, how you doing? Emily brought me that, if you follow me on the Instagrams, Emily brought me the lovely, the fishman with the sign that says "No Wet Elves." That right away, pretty much on Thursday morning, as soon as the thing started. So that was very nice to meet her face to face. It was a good time. Mac the Maker won a sweet Dust Tactics set at TMX. That's true. You did win a bunch of Dust Tactics stuff that we had in the door prize. What else here we got? Anyan, and here also, and Bartolomid Stikursky. I'm not pronouncing that properly, I'm sure. First time tuning into the Irregulars. Hello from Berlin. Well, hey, how you doing? I'm going to probably just say Bart for now, because that's about as far as I can get on that, without probably screwing it up pretty good. VJ Morph, hope you didn't get too many middle seats. No, I got the aisle seat, which was okay, but it was sort of difficult at times. Actually, on the flight that did finally eventually take off from Atlanta, that got me back to Wisconsin at like 3 in the morning. In that one, it was a 3-seater thing across in the part we were in, and there was nobody in the middle, so that was much more comfortable actually on the final flight home. So that was not too bad. VJ Morph says busy repping that Game for Love, Adam. Yeah, that was what we were there for. For Origins, really. And I think I've told this before, we originally thought we were going to Origins because we had been told at the Gamma trade show in Reno back in March that we were going to Origins, and then we were told, oh, no, you're on the waiting list. So I was like, well, I'm going to go to Origins, and I'll just do stuff and report maybe a little bit from there, do my media thing. So I got a flight and all that jazz and an hotel room, and then we found out not very long before Origins that we were now off the waiting list, so that was a bit of a thing. So then the other two guys, I mean, there's 6 of us, but basically there's only 3 of us that ever do really much traveling for Game 4, and so Matt and Jason, they came along, but they drove because we brought up a TV and stuff like that and a stand and all that jazz. So yeah, it was okay. It was not too bad. BJ Morph says, that Fishman was cool. Nice job. I agree. It was a very nice one. We've got Zombie Boy. We've got Frankie Lee Bailey. We've got Kelly Audia. Who else am I missing? We've got Randall. I think that's everybody right now who's in there, so that's cool. So as far as Origins was concerned, we had a booth, and we were telling people about Game 4 and going through all that stuff and talking to, I think it was like 12 or 13 interviews while we were there. So that's going to help, as well. It'll take a while for some of them. Some of them are blog posts, some of them are podcasts, some of them were video, but you may potentially see a little bit more of me online than you may already do. So yeah. Kelly says, hey Adam, I made it halfway to TMX. Car trouble stopped me 2 hours away. So bummed. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Kelly. I didn't realize that had occurred. Yeah, that's not a good walk. 2 hours by car. That's not easy to walk. So yeah, I'm sorry to hear that happened. What else have we got here? Zombie Boy's just working on a converted Nurgle Chaos Space Marine bike. I've never painted him, but he's all primed and ready to go, and I did a bunch of work on him sculpture-wise. I've got a Nurgle Chaos Lord on a bike, which can't be Death Guard, as it turns out, so he just had to be regular Nurgle, because they don't have Chaos Lords on bikes in the Death Guard Codex for reasons. So, yeah. What else we got? Hey guys, good for VJ Morph says, bit of a bummer getting up at 3 a.m. after I've been at a wedding all Saturday, feeling a little hungover. Yeah, I can understand that. That's if you've been at a wedding and then get up super crazy early, you probably haven't completely gotten through all the any liquor that you may have actually consumed. I've been there before, not lately, but I've been there in the past. What else have we got here? Nice to finally make a live show, says Zombie Boy, even though mother-in-law is over from Ireland, currently in the man cave. That's fun. Nick Ramondo, reporting for duty, says Kelly. That's Nick is in the house. Still trying to look at, I'm looking at trying to make some new shirts now that I'm back for about a month. My next convention is I'm going to be at the Midwest Miniature Expo outside of Detroit in mid-July, like the 13th to the 15th. And I think it'll just be me. The Game 4 guys, the other guys from work aren't going. We're not going to have like a booth. I'm going to give my seminars, basically, my YouTube seminars. So yeah, I'll be there. That will be the second time that I've ever been to Detroit. The first time was on my flight out to Columbus. So that'll be, but I was only in Detroit for 39 minutes or whatever, like last time. So it'll be a bit of a longer trip, which will be nice. Well, I mean, it's like 3 days, but still, it'll be fun. I'm hanging out with one of the people running the convention is Lee Gaddis from Gaddis Gaming. So if you were at TMX or if you've heard of Gaddis Gaming, they do the tabletoppers, which are those cool foam things. They're like, you can put your drink, in the it kind of holds it on your gaming table so it doesn't fall over. There's like it runs along the edge of the dice or the table. He's done a couple of successful Kickstarters with the tabletoppers. They're pretty cool. He also has a game. It's alternate history World War I called Shattered Crown. He was running that at TMX, and he's part of the group that's putting this convention together in Detroit. He and his wife. So he was like, hey, you should really come by and run your seminars and all that kind of stuff. So as it turns out, that I can get a direct flight, strangely, from Appleton, Wisconsin, which is a pretty small little airport, but straight from Appleton direct to Detroit. So doing that, it'll be a good time. Talking about the t-shirts, YouTube announced yesterday that they're going to have a new kind of way to tie your merchandising into your videos. So if you've watched, I've seen it on the Philip DeFranco videos on and off over the last couple of months. You'll have like the video window, right? And then you'll have like the title and the description. And then directly below that, there's this thing that they're calling a shelf. And you'll see like Philip DeFranco t-shirts and stuff in there. And then below that is the comments and all that jazz. Well, allegedly, they're opening that up to almost anybody, kind of. But the trick is that the manufacturer that makes those shirts that YouTube is working directly with is Teespring, which is the manufacturer that I happen to have been making my t-shirts with, who, like I said, I think the t-shirt quality is great. I think the price is great. The only thing I don't like about them is their website is not great, like the back-end part that I have to use. But now they're going to be attached to YouTube in that fashion, so I'll be able to have, allegedly, all the different shirts and stuff like that directly underneath the video there to hopefully get them in people's faces a little bit more. It was supposed to go live yesterday, and I guess it has, but I can't get to it. Like, they have 3 requirements, evidently. This is all a bunch of dumb behind-the-scenes stuff, but the 3 requirements are you have to be at least 10,000 subscribers, which I am. You have to be in the U.S., for right now at least to start, and I am. And you have to be a YouTube partner, also. I am. And then you have to log into the Creator Studio kind of back-end thing for your YouTube channel, and you have to switch to the new beta version, which is a redesign, which I don't like. But every time Google makes a redesign, I have a tendency to dislike it. But anyway, they've decided to change the current studio and make it look fancier or whatever, and I don't really like it. But anyway, so I switched to that, and they're like, and then you go down to monetization in the menu, you click on that, and you can go from there. Well, I don't have monetization in my menu. If I go back to the old version, I have monetization there because I've been monetized for like nearly 3 years, 2 years at least. But yeah, they don't have it. It's not showing up in the other thing. So I did a support ticket and was like typing and like, I don't know. So anyway, we'll see if I ever get an answer. Who knows? That's pretty much about it, though, as far as that's concerned. I do have some ideas for some new t-shirts. I've got some stuff that I've punched into my phone that I'm going to sit down with now that I've got actually a little bit more time free. So I'll be doing some of that. I hope for the next several videos to be a little bit more, I don't know. I don't want to say in depth, but I'm probably going to be doing a little bit more some kind of tutorial stuff and some other things. Because now I've got a little bit more time. I'm not like the last several weeks. It's been pretty much like get done with traveling, have 3 or 4 days at best, of work, and then immediately start traveling again. This last week, moving into, what's his name there? Moving into Origins, I pretty much had, like, I got done with TMX. I took Monday off and got some stuff done. I worked on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday I was on a plane again. So, yeah, that's why when I did finally get these, where'd I put them? Here. When I got my little ghost dudes from the Soul Wars box from GW, I was super happy to be able to paint them and kind of get them rolling, because this was some of the first hobby I've done in darn near a month, I guess. So anyway, I'm going to set those guys back here. Let's see. What do we got going on? Frankie Lee Bailey says, I'm just finishing up my Vulcan Heston base I got for Forge Father's Day. The Emperor will be happy. I think that's a good idea. Anyon said, I finished painting my Shadow War terrain this week. Now I get to start my Infinity box. Exciting times. That's a good idea. What else have we got? Torch says, I've never been to the Midwest. That's where all the good cons are. Well, I mean, that's where a lot of the good cons are. I mean, you got games, you got GW, you got, or it's not a GW, sorry, Gen Con, you've got, what else there? You've got, I mean, Origins is kind of, is Ohio the Midwest? I think it kind of is. AdeptCon, Yeah, Chicago area, so that's really good. TMX. But you've got also. I'm going to the Nova Open, which is about half the size of Adepticon, and it's all miniatures. That's coming up end of August, early September, and that's out in DC. That's pretty East Coast. And then I'm going in February of next year, going back to the Las Vegas Open, which is pretty western part of the United States. So there are some conventions on the coasts a little bit more. If you're into War Machine, I want to say their big convention is in I think it's in Seattle or somewhere around there, somewhere in Washington State, I think, unless they've moved it. I don't know, but yeah. So you got options like that too. Bart from Berlin says, painting converted Bretonnian Blood Bowl team. Good to have the stream to listen to in the meantime. Well, I'm glad to be able to help with that. Adam, I enjoyed the last video, says Randall. Any more info on the Age of Sigmar 2 release? Reviews seem pretty positive. Yeah, going through the core book, I'm pretty happy with the few changes that they did make. And the fact that the core little pamphlet thingy, which went from 4 pages to 18 pages, is a lot clearer. Some people in the comments actually pointed out since yesterday, they're like, that terrain stuff you talked about when you get to a wall and you have to pay the point, it's 3 inches to the wall, 2 inches up the wall, 2 inches down the wall, all that stuff. People are saying that was in the original 4-pager. It just wasn't very clear. And so I think that may very possibly be true. It's just that now you've got a much clearer kind of that's why they're taking the extra time to put in photos that say, look, this is what happens when this guy and this guy tried to do this. And they actually show a figure, mounting a fence like that. And then they have dotted line and the whole deal. So they're making it a lot more clear, which I think is good. There are some other changes, like the command points thing, I think is a positive thing. I like, I understand why they changed it so you can no longer shoot somebody if you're close enough. If you're within 3 inches of an enemy, you can't shoot anyone but that enemy. That makes sense. I get it. Yeah, so definitely. Zombie Boy says, Uncle Adam, I really like your new video post about Age of Sigmar. The gang are going to tread their toe in fantasy water again. I think it's a good time to get into, honestly. If you haven't played the original Age of Sigmar, this new Age of Sigmar, it's a good time to get in. There's a lot of great models to pick from. If you like the ghosts and stuff, all that Night Haunt stuff is amazing. If you're into fish people, not really fish people, but wet elves, if you like that thing, those models are amazing. I'm not a big fan aesthetically, but technically they are amazing models. So yeah, now's a really good time, I think, to get in. VJ Morph says, Adam, fantastic job on the Night Haunts. Some of the best I've seen so far. Well, thank you. I appreciated that. Yeah, but that's... I mean, they were fun to paint, and they were also pretty quick. I mean, basically, let's see if I'll grab one here. So, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it. There. Okay, so if it ever focuses, there. So basically, all I did, and that's not focused, I know that. Let me try with this hand. Come on, focus. Stop focusing over there. Focus over here. I can't. So anyway, there we go. So all I did was I primed them black after I built them and textured them and all that. And then I dusted them from above with a white primer. So, and they look here a lot more gray. In the pictures, they look like they were white to black. And depending on the light you catch them in, they do definitely look that way. Here they look a lot more kind of gray to black. Now, I did throw a gray wash, a Vallejo gray wash on top of them, which did not a ton. It's a pretty... No, they're just not focusing. Come on. Son of a... I hate this camera. Anyway, it was basically just a dusty job there. I sprayed white then down on the base, and then I went back with a Secret Weapon wash, which is technically basically a glaze, called Fallout, which is a super bright neon yellowy green. And then I just kind of... I mean, honestly, the airbrush did a lot of the work. And that was, I think, kind of the plan that I did. So, yeah. Let me see here. Zombie Boy says, I've got a bright red one with a dead figure on its side. I think I missed the first part of that. Oh, Zombie Boy saying, I was in GW today looking at the new green and blue technical paints to go over the spectral figs. I mean, I don't have a problem with that look. I think it's kind of cool, and I think that you're going to see people who are looking at it going, so if I just prime them white and then just put this paint on them, they will look kind of like ghosts. And there are a lot of people who are like totally into that. I would have almost kicked around the idea of going that way with these guys, except that I already had my Karen Wraith from a long time ago, from back, like I said, in the old how to use liquid green stuff, the sequence of liquid green stuff video, and I wanted them to sort of match him. Now he doesn't have that green glow at the bottom coming up, but he wasn't modeled that way. Like the way that figure was modeled, it was modeled to look like it was just like a cloak that was floating, and where it touches the ground, it's cloak. Whereas these guys, where it touches the ground, it's not cloak. Again, we're gonna try to do this. So like you see how you get that weird kind of like stuff coming up there, and again, this color is really weird because these are a lot brighter in person, but here on this camera it's kind of orangey. So yeah, it's almost like kind of a smoky sort of thing coming up, and then it fades into the cloak. Like that's the way they've modeled it. The original Karen Wraith doesn't look like that at all. It looks like the cloak is just dragging across the ground, which is why I painted these guys this way. And I will probably end up painting most of the rest of the guys that way too, because that's the way that most of them are modeled. So I kind of wanted him to match, and I didn't want that Karen Wraith to stand out. And like everybody else is ghostly, and he's not, So that's one of the reasons I'm doing it this way. It's also, it's quick. It's not as quick as just going white and then putting that stuff on there, but I don't have a problem with that. Some people are like, oh, it's the easy way out. Well, who cares? If you like the way it looks and it was easy to do, I mean, this was easy-ish to do, and I like the way it looks. So, doesn't bother me. Shouldn't bother you. Let's see. Oh, no, see, the chat window went and freaked out. There we go. Simon Key says, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Simon. Kelly says, interestingly enough, my face looked a lot like the cello case in your background when my car started acting up on the way to TMX. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about that again. Yeah, the cello hasn't really gone out on cello missions recently, so the eyes have stayed on. Emily's been... the music that she's been doing is with her other band and not with any symphony stuff. And in her other band, she plays the wash tub bass, which is basically a metal wash tub that you put upside down on the ground. It's got a hole poked in the bottom. You tie a piece of nylon cord like a knot through that hole, and then it goes up to the top of a mop handle. And then that mop handle makes a triangle back down to the edge of the tub. You put a notch in the bottom of the handle, so you're holding onto the handle, which is touching the edge of the tub, which is upside down, and then you have this string that goes down to the middle of the tub, and then as you pluck it, it makes the tub kind of make a noise and vibrate, and as you pull back on the handle, that pitch goes up. And so she plays that. It's just one string and one finger, but she can vary it, kind of like a trombone player. They don't have they have to know where to stop to make the right note and all that, so she just can do that, just boom, 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 and all that stuff. And that's what she normally plays in that band, and that doesn't have any eyes on it, and it also doesn't really come in the house. It basically stays in the garage, because it's a wash tub and a mop, I mean, it's not delicate like a cello can be. VJ Morph says, Adam, are you considering this YouTube subscribers thing? $4.99 a month on there as compared to you set your own price on Patreon. I am not particularly. That to me looks like YouTube is trying to basically fight against Patreon, and I like Patreon better. It would take a good deal of benefit for you guys. YouTube would have to give a ton of benefits to you guys for me to consider switching over. At this point, they're basically, like I said, they're just trying. Every company does this. Capitalism is all about trying to eat everybody else's lunch at all times. So there's that. And that's just basically what they're doing. They don't want their creators to be using some other company to make money so that they can't get their little beak wet on that. So that's why they're doing it, in my opinion. And I know there are some benefits that are then baked in as part of this subscription thing. But like I said, so far I'm not impressed with what I've seen. So we'll see how it works out. Like I was talking about a little bit before, they've got this new thing going on with Teespring where you can have your shirts right there on the video page and all that stuff, or whatever merchandise you make through them. What I don't understand, because I was like, okay, so how much do they take? Like, what's the... According to the FAQ, they don't take anything. YouTube does not take a dime. And if anything, I swear to God, it says that for every shirt you sell through YouTube with this, YouTube will kick in an extra $1 back to you. I cannot even imagine how that would be the case. Like, YouTube doesn't take any money for posting these things, and somehow they kick $1 back. I don't know. We'll see. But either I was misreading the FAQ, or they have some other weird deal that I can't quite figure out. But that's allegedly what they're saying. So we'll see if I ever get my invitation or whatever to that program, and we'll see how that goes. But currently, yeah, I don't have any interest in the subscribers thing for YouTube. And to be fair, like, there's also Super Chat, where, like, you can pay and then your chat goes up to the top. And I kind of don't want to do that either because, well, for a lot of reasons. Number one, I don't like that kind of pay-to-play model within a chat where someone who's, like, really wants to get a question in front of me. And also, I've watched videos where people have done that, and I've watched them later on, like, as a recording. Like this, I was watching this guy who talks about making your own video channels and stuff, and he's Tim Schmoyer, his name is, and he's videocreators.tv. And he was doing, like, a live show that was, like, 45 minutes long, and the subject was something I was interested in. I don't remember what it was about now. And so he would start to talk about it, and then a super chat would pop up. And then he'd be like, oh, hey, thanks, so-and-so. And then he would have to stop talking about what he was talking about and to interact with this person, and then he would get back into the subject, and then another super chat would pop up. And so I was sitting there as the viewer going, he's never going to get to the point because people keep throwing money at him. Which, I mean, during that 45 minutes, he made like $200. But he's got, like, I don't know, 500,000 subscribers or something like that. So I get the benefit. I understand that. But I just don't, as a viewer, I was like, this is not what I want. And I don't think that as viewers, that's what you guys want either. So that's why I haven't done Super Chat either. Anyway. Torch says that paint job looks great, Adam. Thanks. I appreciate it. Useful G. I am loving the look of the new Soul War set. My wife is really excited for it because she's pushing me to buy it and start hobbying. Well, that's awesome. That's very awesome. Justin Hamrick. Hey, Justin Hamrick. Building a new Imperial Knight army. 2 different builds. One with Space Marine tank spearhead and one mech with the big bots. Giant robots with backup robots. Backup robots, are they dancing? Like backup singers? Do they do that? Or are they just, like, in the background? That's fine, too. I have, eventually, once I get there, I'm going to have an Imperial Knight that will be Adeptus Mechanicus, which will be part of my Adeptus Mechanicus detachment, which will be added on eventually to my Space Marine 2,000-point army. That will be a little ways off because I'm kind of shifting things a little bit, and my big project between now and the end of September is, or is it end of September, is Conflict 47, my United States Army. I'm going to Valhalla again this year, and a bunch of people who are going to Valhalla are all going to play Conflict 47. There's, like, kind of one person who's sort of running everything. His name is Ruben. He's a super nice guy. He was there last year. So he's getting a bunch of people, and so I want to have all my stuff ready to go. So I will get to build some robots. Like, I'll get to build a Coyote Scout kind of mech. That's not what they call them. They call them Scout Walker, but it's basically like a little tiny mech. So I'll get to build that. And I'll get to build some, like, power armored kind of like World War II guys and things like that. But it'll be a while before I get to do the big Imperial Knight, sadly. Yeah, there's only so much time in the day, which is, you know, the way it is. So yeah. VJ Morph says, I'm not sure if I'm digging on those new tech paints. All the ones I've seen, the color comes out way too dark. Would mix it 1-to-1 with Lamium Medium. I would definitely test it on something if you can. I know that, like, the tech paint, the something oxide, nihilum oxide, I don't know. It's one of those words. The oxide paint is awfully thick, and you have to thin it, because otherwise it will just become the color almost. So yeah, there's that. Typhus corrosion, it helps to thin it a little, but not too much. But yeah, it's some of the tech paints do definitely need some thinning, in my opinion. Yeah, I like Lamian. I just wish the pot was bigger, says Zombie Boy. You know, I'm a little amazed that they don't, like, they have the wash pots now that are twice as tall. I don't know why they don't do that with the medium. It's kind of weird. Yeah. Torch says, I could get to Vegas. I thought it was mainly a tourney, though, talking about LVO. It is. I mean, it's a bunch of tournaments. There's a big 40K. There's a pretty good-sized Age of Sigmar. There's a bunch of other stuff. But there's also demos. There's a vendor hall. There's seminars. They're trying to get more and more seminars going. One of the reasons I'm going again is because they invited me back to do my YouTube seminars, so that's cool. On Friday or Saturday night, one of the 2 nights of the thing, there's going to be a big media presentation, aka like me and Carl from Independent Characters, and well, like last year it was me, Carl, Miranda from Wargamer Girl, Dave from Mini Wargaming, and then a bunch of other people that I can't quite remember. But we all kind of were like at a panel, and the people were asking us questions, and it was moderated by Big Nasty B and Robo Ed from Life After the Cover Save. And so that was a lot of fun. So we're expanding that this year to have a bigger space, and they're going to push it more on the lead up so people know about it and whatever. So that'll be a lot of fun. So there's things going on besides the tournament as well, but you do have to kind of look for them a little bit more. I mean, if you're going to go there, there are demos, there's vendors and stuff like that. But then it's also Vegas, you know. So if you want to go do Vegas stuff, go see shows, play blackjack, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a big gambler, so it's not my thing. I'm not big into shows. But I was just talking to people and doing stuff, and I don't know. I liked it. It was a cool convention. But I mainly am going again this year because they invited me and said, hey, you know, will you come and do these presentations? So it seemed like it was a good tipping point, like a good thing to get me moving. So yeah. Let's see here. Kelly says, anyone have any experience with fixing dry Vallejo pigment? I have the binder stuff. I'm not sure if that's helpful. I've been told that the pigments are not really for gamers, but instead for displays. Well, there's 2 different groups of... There's Vallejo model color, and there's Vallejo game color. Model color is mostly designed for painting models, so it's a lot of military colors and junk like that, whereas game color is like a whole very bright line of all kinds of things, because you're going to be painting elves and dwarves and wizards and who knows what else. So I don't know that the pigments are the issue. I think that if you can just find basically like a good acrylic thinner, that can help you to undry it sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. Useful G says, Vegas lets you smoke indoors. Does the Vegas Open allow that? You can't, I don't think, at the tables, like at the gaming tables, definitely. But if you go into the casino proper, like, then, yeah, people smoke there, which is weird, you know, because as a person who's, like, I smoked from when I was 20 until I was 30, so I quit almost 17 years ago. But I only smoked, like, at bars mostly and stuff. Like, I was a social smoker, like, pack a week, you know, so it wasn't, you know. But anyway, but now, because like even in bars, like since 2010, I think here in Wisconsin, you haven't been able to smoke in bars. So to walk into someplace and someone's smoking indoors, you're just like, whoa, this is weird. I had a couple of guys, actually, Big Nasty B, Blake from Life After the Cover Save, and Quirk from Mini Wargaming. Both of them smoke, and both of them went outside to smoke, even though it was totally okay for them to smoke indoors. And I asked them, like, why are you going outside to smoke? You know, you can smoke. There's ashtrays everywhere. They're like, I know, but it's just weird. I just don't want to. So they would go outside the hotel or the convention center to smoke. So, yeah, I kind of wish, frankly, some of the more people in there had done that, because it was walking through the casino, especially at certain times of night, it was a little rough. But nonetheless, let me see here. VJ Morph says, so I might have finally convinced my wife to play Age of Sigmar. We are looking at playing with the Shadespire warbands and the Age of Sigmar 2.0 download, so no new purchases are necessary. That's one of the things that I really do dig about Age of Sigmar, and I think it was really smart on their part, was that they released the new PDF early. Like, they could have waited until next weekend when all the stuff dropped, but they were like, or you can just start, here you go. Because that... It makes sense from a business standpoint, because what they do now is that people can look at the rules and be like, oh, I like this change, I like that stuff, and then you're just more likely to buy some stuff. So there's that. Yeah, I think it was a smart plan on their part. VJ Morph says that, however, she is interested in playing the Nurgles. I like the Nurgles, you know, but definitely. Where are we? I got my chat all gibbered. There's the Nurgle's Death by Brass Bell. I do like that model with the big bell. He's kind of cool. Randall asks, how flimsy are those minis? They seem very delicate. They're not as bad as I would have thought. You know, like they're, like even, you know, like this one's got a nice thick, he's got a good thick, like right here, that's pretty thick. Like these parts are very thin. I would give them space if you're using like a foam tray. They're going to need some space. They're not like, you know, Space Marines where you can kind of wedge them into a space that's maybe a little tiny. Because they're kind of spiky, so there's that. But I was concerned about how just like a little bit is touching the base, but they've made that part thick enough that I'm not too wary. I mean, they're not load bearing, don't get me wrong, but they'll be okay, I think. But you probably will need a little bit more space in your foam tray of choice if you go down that road. You know, if you magnetize them and stick them on one of those things, so they're not touching anything except for the base because of a magnet, then they're fine. I've got a friend who's going to be doing the same, who's already done the same thing with his tree people, Sylvaneth, because trying to fit those spiky tree people into foam is not ideal. So he just put, you know, magnets in the bases of all of them, and then he put, I think he's got them in like a metal toolbox actually, and he just attaches them like all over the inside of the metal toolbox, and it works out just fine. So, or else he put a piece of metal in the bottom of a plastic toolbox. One of the two. Yeah. Uncle Adam, did you use secret weapon washes for the cloaks as well? No, the wash I used on that was a Vallejo gray wash. Just it comes in a weird big bottle. Like it's not a normal Vallejo squeeze bottle. It's like a bigger one. Kind of almost like their special effects paints that they do now with that bigger, wider, stockier bottle with the flip up top. That was the type of that was the stuff I used. And it, like I said, it didn't do a ton, but it did enough to dull it a little bit down from the gray, and it got into the crevices nice, and I liked it. Kelly says, can you show us some of the Stormcast? Are they normal? I haven't built any of them yet. There's just a big, all the sprues are down in the basement, so I can't currently right now without like leaving for a while and coming back. But they are, I mean, they're push fit, you know, so they're not, they're more like, almost like, what's his name there? Shadespire models, really, because they're just, they don't need glue. I still glue them, but they don't need it. Which means they're not super customizable. None of these are like, oh, I'll pose them the way that I want. They go together kind of one way, which for a starter box makes sense. I'm sure that they will make some of these Sacrosanct dudes, who I incorrectly referred to as the Vanguards in the video, but the Sacrosanct dudes, I'm sure they'll release boxes of those who will be a little customizable, and I'm sure they won't all just be this press fit, you know, or whatever kind of thing. So. Zombie Boy says, thinking about it, I wonder where the aesthetic for using big clanging bells comes from. I've spent my months painting Death Guard with brass bells, and now Night Helmets as well. I think it's a little bit of for whom the bell tolls kind of thing. You know, I mean, you've got the Death Guard, it's death. Bells seem to be attached to that to some degree. Same with these Night Haunts. Someone asked me, they're like, why doesn't he have a weapon? Why does he just have a bell? And that kind of harkens back to... like, you know, old fantasy where, you know, when you played like 8th edition fantasy and you had your unit of people, you usually had a standard bearer and a musician, and each of them gave you special benefits. And that's still in Age of Sigmar. Like with my Chaos Warriors, my Slaves Darkness Chaos Warriors, if you add the horn guy into it, you get an added benefit, and if you add the banner, you know, bearer guy into the same unit, then you get this other benefit. And so that's just the same type of deal. Like that guy's the musician. This dude here is the musician in that group. But really, if you think about it, he could probably hit somebody pretty hard with that bell. I would not want to be hit with that bell. That seems like no fun. So you know, you got that going too, which is maybe comical. So. Jesse Daniels says, how many instruments does she play? Referring to my wife. She plays cello, she plays piano, she plays washtub bass. I think that's about it. Pretty much just piano and cello, and washtub bass is something she sort of taught herself. So. VJ Morph says, I'm holding off on buying the Age of Sigmar 2.0 boxes. I'm not sure I want the Night Haunts. I've always wanted a Skaven clan Skyr army or Night Gobo Moon clan Grotz army, so I think I'm just going to buy the book. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, too, is they are selling the book separately. And again, like, the book is... Honestly, it's not a necessity. Like, again, you can download the core rules, But if you want a bunch of extra battle plans and cool stuff like that, and if you want the open play, match play, that kind of jazz, you may actually even think about, just as a suggestion, maybe buy, if you've got a friend who's got it, maybe just look through it. If you really want the fluff and the story, then yeah, you definitely want to buy the book because there's a ton of it in there. But if you're looking for maybe more like if you're interested a little bit more in match play, I might actually pick up the, if I was you, I'd pick up the the new General's Handbook, the 2018 General's Handbook, because that'll have a lot of stuff in there as well. And then that, along with the core rules, and I'm sure they'll probably slide a copy of the core rules into the General's Handbook as well, because they're sliding it in everywhere. You might want to try that first, just potentially. But if you really want like fluff and all that kind of stuff, then definitely the hardcover is the way to go. So. Torch says, I'm splitting my Soul Wars with a friend. I'm keeping the Stormcast. I've been working on my exciting Stormcast before I get all these, or I'm assuming, Stormcast before I get all those new models. Yeah, eventually I will build my Stormcast army. Like, I had 1,000 points already bought, which came from, like, the original starter box, and then a couple of add-ons from eBay and stuff. And then I bought the starter box, which is around here somewhere, or not the starter, the Start Collecting box for the Vanguard version, and now I've got the stuff from the Sacrosancts from Soul Wars. So I'm good now. I've probably got 2,000 points almost. But that's my third army, so it's down the road a ways, definitely. But I think it'll be fun, so. Let me see here. VJ Morph says that he played the washtub bass in the Bush Band in high school. Well, that's fun. It's yeah, it's an interesting instrument. It's a lot of fun. Emily says, never heard of a washtub bass before. That is crazy cool. It's funny to watch. So, like, a show that she did, that my wife did a couple months back, was at a local coffee shop. And the coffee shop is owned by the lead kind of guy in the band that she's in. And anyway, so they had some, like, a local high school group kind of opened for them. It was like 3 guys who were like in high school, have kind of been doing a thing, and one's playing like a stand-up full bass, and another one was playing like a guitar, and the other one was maybe a drum of some sort, but like a simple drum, maybe even just a bucket. I don't think so. Maybe it was. Maybe it was just like a. Anyway, so they like played it first and all that kind of stuff, and then they left, and then Emily and the band and all that, they moved all their stuff up on there and get started going, and the first band was moving their stuff to the car and all that stuff, and when they came back in, like Emily's band had started. It's not Emily's band, but it's the band she's in. They had started, and it was interesting to watch, specifically the bass player, the big stand-up bass player, like watch her play basically a nylon cord on a mop handle and be able to get all these notes and stuff like that. And they were just like, I could tell, like all 3 of them were just staring at like how she was doing it. And they play the farmer's market from time to time, and I've been standing there kind of in the crowd and heard people go, there was a guy one time who's just like, how is she getting multiple notes from one string? And then I was like, oh, and I explained it to him, and then he was like, huh. And so I said, well, it's my wife, so I know how it happens. And then it was very nice. I like the farmer's market. I was going to go today, but we did not make it. So anyway, what else have we got here? Let me see here. What else have we got? The Nurgles. The Nurgles are a lot of fun. Torch says, my wife likes Nurgle too because of the cute Nurglings. That's the one part of Nurgle I kind of don't like. I don't like the comic relief part of Nurgle. Like all the Plague, or the Blight Kings. The Blight Kings are awesome. Those are amazing sculpts. And the stuff that kind of goes in that same line, like the Lord of Decay and all that kind of jazz, those are all super cool. But when you get into the little kind of like silly, smiling, kind of farting Nurglings, then I'm like, nah, I don't want any of those in my army, I mean, they're well done, don't get me wrong. I'm not against them, and I'm not against someone else who wants them. I just don't want them in my army, because I don't know, I just don't like them. I'm not sure what it is. I mean, it's not like an elf thing. I'm not as opposed to them as I am elves, but it's not my deal. Zombie Boy says, on a slightly different topic, Rodney on Watch It Played has now teamed up with Board Game Geek. Have you considered doing Wargame channel full-time professionally, or is that not your bag? I did not know that about Rodney, actually. Actually, I met Rodney at Origins. The Miniature Market booth was directly next to our booth, and so he was over there looking at, because Miniature Market has their own line of like little scatter terrain, the tiny terrain stuff I talked about in my scatter terrain video. So there was tons of people constantly coming over and looking through all the tiny terrain and all the little, crates and trees and columns and all the kinds of cool stuff. And because many of those people were obviously a little bit more wargamey, then they would see me standing at our booth next door, and they'd be like, "Oh." And so, so I had watched a little bit of Rodney's stuff, and I knew vaguely who he was, but I had not met him in person. And then I met him in person, and then actually one night, Saturday night, me and Matt and Jason from Game 4, we went to a bar, and then after that, we had been invited over to a kind of like a get-together sort of thing over at another hotel, just in the second floor lobby. It was just people getting together playing board games and stuff like that. So we went over and had a bunch of conversations, and he was there as well playing a game, and so we chatted a little bit more. Anyway, I did not realize he was hooked up with Board Game Geek. That's interesting. Have I considered doing this full-time? Not particularly. I like my full-time job fine, and I don't know. I don't like the concept of doing this full-time, and it's not because of maybe the reasons that people think. I don't know. I look at the big full-time channels, at least in wargaming, and I see for lack of a better term, and this is, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but for lack of a better term, I see the compromises that those channels have to make, because they've got employees now and they've got mouths to feed, and they've got people got to pay for their mortgage and their cars and their and their food and just the normal things, health insurance, whatever. And when you do that, you have to really start to push your channel as a business, which generally means that you may have to make some compromises and do a lot of sponsored stuff and do a lot of there's just a lot of kind of roads I don't particularly want to go down in that situation. So for me, having it as basically like a side business that helps to kind of some degree augment my day job is great. But even if, for some reason I was to go get a job someplace completely else, which I have no plans to do, but if I did, I started the channel when I worked for a completely different company that had nothing to do with wargaming of any kind. It was a company that was a nonprofit technically that worked with airplane enthusiasts and stuff like that. And I worked in web. I didn't work in video or do anything like that. I would like to, if needs be, I would like to work someplace else, maybe doing video stuff and that kind of thing, or marketing or whatever. But right now, this dovetails perfectly in with my stuff at Game 4, so I'm fine with it. But the idea of having to make it full time, I don't know. I mean, just to look at the amount of stuff you have to put out. Now, that being said, there are some people that are kind of pulling it off sort of well, or not having to go too far down a weird direction. Look at Ash from Guerrilla Miniature Games. Ash, his wife has the job sort of, outside the home and does all that, and he is kind of a house husband, and he's doing that and taking care of the kids, which saves them a ton of money on childcare, from what I understand. I don't have kids myself, but I know that you have to pay somebody a lot of money to make sure they don't die, every day when you're at work. You can't just leave them at home like you can cats, from what I understand. So so that's super expensive. So him being able to stay at home and do that stuff is great. And then when she comes home, then at night he can go and work stuff on the channel, and that's a pretty good. And he's putting out 6-7 videos a week, right? So that's a lot of work too. He's not taking it like a side job like I am. It's a full-time job, but it's something he basically gets to do, from what I understand, almost like second shift. You know what I mean? So he can do that, and that's great. But when you start getting bigger than that and you have a staff, then yeah, I don't know that I ever want to particularly go down that road. That's a long answer to say I'm not planning on making it full-time anytime soon. But I do want to try to expand a little bit. I don't want to bring on staff, It's funny because whenever Sam does a video on my channel, at the end of it, he's like, all right, I want to thank everybody here at Tabletop Minions, for letting me do this. And I'm, in the room with him on the cameras, and I always look around, and I'm like, who, it's just me. I don't have anybody else, Sometimes my wife helps out a little bit here and there, and then obviously there's Sam on the channel from time to time. But yeah, it's pretty much just me. So, and I kind of want to keep it that way, but I am trying to get it to expand more. The downside is that as I try to expand more, then I'm taking hobby time away from myself. If I want to start having, say, 2 videos a week, not every week, but the weeks when I don't do the live show, the every other Sunday show, I've been trying to make it, and I haven't really succeeded yet, but I've been thinking about trying to make a Monday show that's kind of unrelated and go that direction. But then that's just another night generally that I don't have to work on my Conflict 47 army or things like that. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I explained this to someone recently. It's like trying to get in shape. When you're trying to get in shape, it's difficult because you're just like, well, I have to do this so I can get in shape. The way that you actually get in shape, or at least get better in shape, or get better physically, is to not make it a thing you have to do, but to make it a habit. So for me, the Friday shows are a habit. Like, it's not an option for me to be like, I'm going to skip a Friday show. Like, if there's not a Friday show, something is drastically wrong. So making it part of your life, just like eating better, exercising every day, or whatever, those types of things, you have to make it part of your life, not just try to force it. And it takes time, but then once you get it, now it's part of your life, and it's very difficult for you to not want to do that. That's what I'm doing currently, at least with the Friday show and the every other Sunday show for the most part, except when there's sort of catastrophic technical things like at TMX last year. That being said, if you go watch the TMX video from a couple weeks ago, like, it just shows the video, the Tabletop Minions logo on the screen, and you can kind of hear like garbled shenanigans in the background for about 30 or 50 seconds, and then the logo gets more and more digitally distorted. I'm totally going to take a screenshot of one of those, and I'm thinking about making just that a t-shirt because it's crazy looking. Anyway, yeah, so that's kind of where that's at as far as the channel and things like that. Things are going, I think, relatively well right now. I do want to try to make more content, ramp it up a little, but it takes time to almost like get your mindset to roll down that road. It took me a good 2.5 years to get it, so I started making every Friday, and then it took me like almost another year after that to make the every other Sunday show. And so yeah, it kind of goes that direction. That was a long answer, so I apologize for that. What else have we got here? Adam, starting an AdMech army. Any advice? I would buy some red primer. Like, if you want to make them like normal, like red color kind of, I would definitely buy some red primer. As far as like what forces should you take, I've got no answer for that because I stink at list building and strategy and all that kind of stuff. I'm building a small detachment that's just going to be basically vanguards, I think. I don't know, the little dudes who are not electro priests and they're not rust stalkers. They're the normal guys. I'm going to have some of them. I'm going to have some of the 1950s robots, the Castellans, and a dust dune crawler onager, whatever the heck it's called. I'm going to have at least one of those, and it's going to be like a 1,000-point detachment. Oh, and then also my knight, my Imperial Knight. But as far as like what's the best build, I'm not your man, sadly. What that answer is. All right, let me see here. Obviously still neutral on topics, just wondered if anybody's ever approached you. Oh, this is following up to the full-time YouTube thing. Last year during Valhalla... excuse me. Last year during Valhalla, I had a long conversation with Dave from Mini Wargaming about if there was some sort of way... Like, he was like, is there some sort of way we could get you on staff? And I'm like, I can't move to Canada. My family lives here, and so I'm not going to really do that. And he's like, well, what if we were figure something out? And it was talk, you know. But it was an interesting conversation, and so but yeah, we had some conversation about it one night, and I was flattered, certainly, but it was I just don't know that it would be. Yeah, I mean, like I said, right now my day job, I'm pretty happy with it and everything, so that's pretty cool. And I see the definite value in going forward on, you know, Game 4. Like, we're pushing it because we think it's gonna be really good for the tabletop community as a whole, and so yeah, there's that too. Like, if I was just working like at some insurance company or something, or a manufacturing company or someplace where I was like, you know, I'm not invested in. Like, absolutely, like, definitely these widgets are really going to make everyone's lives a little better, or make at least, you know, somebody, you know, this I can go, look, this can help gamers to be able to find more gamers, to play more games, to feel better about that, maybe make friends. That's cool. That's really kind of where we're going with Game 4, and that's our goal. So yeah. Anyway, that's where that's at. Let me see. Vegas. I'm way behind in the chat. I apologize. Oh, and then it just scrolled like a crazy person again. Backing. Okay, LVO sounds interesting. It's a good time. I'm not at all a gambler. Like my money more than the fun of playing. Yeah, I like spent $5 on the slot machines in Vegas, so I could say I've gambled in Vegas. And I think I spent a little bit more in Reno, so I could say I've gambled in Reno. But to be fair, I was drunk at that point in Reno, so that's why I think I spent more money, but like $20 instead of 5. Yeah, it's just I'm not good at gambling either. Strangely enough, I'm amazed. What else here? Been trying to talk the wife into getting me off the leash to come to TMX next year. Well, it's a long trip from Australia, VJ. Also looking at tying that into going to the new mini wargaming bunker setup. Yeah, I'm interested in doing that too. If I'm going to go to the mini wargaming bunker, I'm going to have to get a passport. I think. Pretty sure I have to get a passport. I'm pretty sure I can't go to Canada without a passport, so I should probably do that eventually. Actually, Dave and I had a conversation about that too last year at Valhalla, because they were just kind of getting started with that project. And so he was like, yeah, we're going to try to have like a big YouTuber like thing and get a bunch of YouTubers to come in and play and make a bunch of content and all that stuff. I'm like, well, that'd be fun, like an event, not like a, like a one-time, like a weekend thing or something. So that'd be kind of cool too. I'm definitely looking forward to that or when that happens, Yeah, I'm way behind. Sorry. Quirk seems like a very considerate guy like that. Yeah, no, Quirk's a great guy. And so both him and Blake both were just like, I'm going to go smoke outside, even though I can smoke right here legally. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so Kelly says, before I was talking about the powdery MIG Vallejo pigments and how to fix them to models. Okay, the pigments. I have only used just a really limited number of pigments, but I know that you're generally supposed to use... Is it alcohol or mineral spirits? There's something you're supposed to use to make it kind of fix onto the model. The problem with pigments is that they're really designed a little bit more for like dioramas and stuff. If you're using it as a gaming piece, it's almost impossible to really fully fix the pigments on there. And if you do, you really coat them in some sort of varnish, then they kind of lose some of their pigmenty appeal. Like the color will still be there underneath the varnish, but the kind of the ability to look very dry and rusty and like kind of absorb the reflection light, it goes away when you start kind of really varnishing them hard. So yeah, I'm not great with that. People I would definitely look at for pigment news and videos, I would go look up the Secret Weapon Miniatures YouTube channel, because he's done a bunch of stuff about pigments. The one class I took about pigments was from Mr. Justin at Adepticon a number of years ago. And frankly, I've forgotten a lot of it. But he does know about that stuff, so that'd be the way to go. Yes, alcohol. You need to varnish them when you're done. Torch says alcohol. I knew it was something like that. Justin Hamrick says, would the ghosts be good to prime with the Vallejo bone color? Well, I mean, it depends on how you want to go. Like, if you did the bone color and then you were going to do like a blue or a green wash to make them totally ghostly, I could see that working out pretty well. I mean, it's either white or that. The white will obviously make the wash pop a lot harder, but the bone color, you may not want it to pop that much. You may not want them to look like super crazy neon glow in the dark. You may just want them to be very kind of ethereal glowy, and the bone color could work out pretty well there too, yeah. Yep, talking about pigments rubbing off, that will definitely occur at some point. Simon asks, do you think the next Warhammer Underworlds will be in a new realm? A lot of people believe that that's the case, that the next set's not going to be in Shadespire, it's going to be in a different place. Now, the question's going to be, will they be compatible? You know what I mean? Like, can you only play the 8 Shadespire armies against other Shadespire people, and the new realm you have to play against those people, or will they be all backwards compatible? And that I don't know. I'm hoping they're compatible, because I think it would be really dumb not to be, but we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of armies they haven't even touched yet. there's the Seraphon, there's the Sylvaneth, there's elves, dark elves, wet elves, dry elves. I don't know. There's a what else? Who else have they not touched? Caradon overlords, regular dwarves, all that kind of stuff. Technically, there's more death. I mean, they've really only just done the bone guys, the separate sepulchral guard, but they could go with flesh eater courts. They could go with they could go with night haunts. Honestly, I mean, there's a lot of stuff they could throw in there. So we'll see how that kind of goes. But yeah. Kelly says, "Are the push fit Stormcast new sculpts?" Yeah, for that are in the Soul Wars box, they are new sculpts because they are a completely different group. They are the Sacrosanct Chamber, evidently, which I misspoke in the video. So they are a bunch of range guys to some degree, and actually like wizards somewhat. Like they've got a lot more wizardry going on because Stormcast used to have almost no magic, and now the Sacrosanct Chamber is kind of like filling that in a little bit. So that's kind of what's going on there. And yeah, they're a new sculpt as far as I can tell, but they are push fit. Let's see here. I have my local store manager putting aside a hard copy of the core rules for me, so just look at the General's Handbook. Yep, cool. It's not easy to play the exact notes on the washtub bass. It's like trying to play a fretless bass. Yeah, or like I said, the trombone. Same type of thing. Yep. By the way, I spent last week at the in-laws' house. My father-in-law is a model military train caster, so I learned how to make molds and cast resin. Very cool. Looking to doing some more soon. Lucky you. That's nice. I've got a friend who knows about casting a lot and does some casting and stuff and has like a pressure pot and a vacuum chamber and all that kind of jazz. And I'm hoping to eventually maybe learn how to do some of that stuff myself. Like the real grand plan for 3D printing originally was I was going to try to design pieces of terrain that I really liked myself, 3D print at the highest quality, no matter how long it's going to take to print, like and then sand it and smooth it and varnish it and do all the stuff, and then make a mold from that, and then be able to crank out, pieces and stuff like that. Like that was the original plan. These days I'm honestly just making stuff and then just using it straight for myself, kind of. But if I ever did want to start selling terrain in some fashion, whether it was on eBay/Etsy or straight through the website or something like that, then I would probably go down that road. But yeah, I would need to learn. At least I'd have to get a pressure pot probably, and I don't know if I would need both a pressure pot and a vacuum chamber, but again, it's just there's only so much time, so there's that too. Randall says, turning a hobby into a profession might seem like a great idea, but it has a lot of drawbacks. No, you're not wrong. Absolutely. That's true. Zombie Boy says, thanks for the honest response. You should see Rodney's new posting. It's very interesting on why he did it. Yeah, I should. We didn't talk about it at all, and I hadn't heard about it. Honestly, when I was talking to him at Origins, he was hanging out with guys from Dice Tower. So the fact that he's getting into the Board Game Geek kind of network is cool. That's not like, well, we can't talk to those guys anymore now or whatever. But yeah, that's cool. I mean, he's starting to get a little bit into miniatures here and there. Like he's getting into some Shadespire and some Gaslands and stuff like that. But he's predominantly board game, and it makes sense to some degree that BGG, Board Game Geek, would be doing that because I don't see them doing a ton of YouTube. So for them to basically say, look, we can kind of like pick this guy up and add him to our YouTube to some degree makes sense. Because Dice Tower's got a lot of YouTube. They put out, 18 videos a day, it seems like. So they don't necessarily, I guess, need another dude in their repertoire or whatever. I've been thinking about it a lot lately because people keep saying, people ask me about like, well, where do you go next? Are you going to build like a Tabletop Minions network and get other channels and do all that kind of stuff? And I don't know. Like, I don't really think so because I don't want it to be a job. I don't like a full-time job. I don't want it to be. I feel to some degree when you take a YouTube channel about toy soldiers basically and try to make it into something huge, you could be setting yourself up for a bit of failure, a little bit. You know what I mean? But if you just keep it kind of like fun and like it's your side hustle and you do it and you try to, in my opinion, focus more on the result of getting more, in my opinion, or in my situation, the result of getting more people into tabletop wargaming and teaching people how to paint and teaching people how to hobby and think about hobby and think about gaming and that kind of stuff. If I can get some people, and I've talked to people now at the last 4 weeks, different conventions, who are like, since I've started going down to the basement or going into my hobby room, whatever, and working on stuff after work, I've felt my stress levels lower. You know, if I can get more people to do that and just lower more people's stress levels, that's a goal. That's a score, in my opinion. Trying to buy a Lamborghini is not. I don't even know where I'd park it. Frankly, our garage is full of crap. If I left it in the driveway, it would get scratched or birds would poop on it, and who wants that? You know. Yeah, because people don't think about that. When you buy a Lamborghini, now you also have to get a garage that's not full of crap, and then probably you got to like wash it a bunch and all. And it's just it's just the way it works. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Torch says I have to charge a fortune for painting to live off the hobby, and I hate commission painting. Too much stress. Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of friends, obviously, that are doing it, like, obviously, Sam, although he's starting to move a lot more into painting, or teaching painting, and things like that, and he's doing well with Twitch. If you haven't been seeing, Sam's on Twitch now, so if you want to watch him, like, around 2 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time on weekdays, he's usually painting there. I think it's twitch.tv/Samson Arts, or Samson Art. You can find him pretty easily. Or go to his Facebook page, and I'm sure he's got links there, too. Anyway, so that's been him, but I've got another friend, Warstein Studios, who as a side job does it, and he's expanding more, but I'm my concern for him to some degree is that if he expands to a point, he's going to be like, okay, now what? And then it's, like, I don't think he wants to make it his full-time job. Again, his wife works as well, so that's not that, like, they both, I think, work for the same company, so insurance wouldn't be an issue, like, if he just decided to paint full-time. But, yeah, it's just, it makes it a real chore, you know what I mean? Like, I'm enjoying painting these days. I enjoyed painting these ghost dudes because it was a lot of fun. Even though I needed to get it done quick for the video, I still enjoyed it. And if I have to do it because clients are like, well, but could you make their a little bit more rusty on the, that's tough. So, I don't know. Some people seem to be surprised you can't keep kids in a cage. Well, there's a lot of stories there. Let me see here. VJ Morph, totally agree about having the time to look after kids. My wife and I do the same thing. I work weekends and look after the little guy during the week. See, yeah, that's a good way to do it. Because I talk to people, my old job, who were like, yeah, I spend $400 a week or something like that on childcare. And I'm like, what? That's a lot. Jeez. I mean, there are plenty of people, it seems, I saw this article years ago, but how some people were finding it was just easier to just not work and just take care of their kids. Like, one of both parents were working, and one of them was just like, I make less than how much we spend to keep that kid alive and give that money to strangers, so why don't I just stay home? And it, makes sense, bottom line, so... let's see here. Torch, do you think non-summoning armies will feel nerfed as heck in AOS 2? I have not looked, frankly, into the summoning stuff a lot, so I don't really know. I need to look a little bit more into it. Let me see. Can I summon stuff in my Chaos army? I don't think I can. Maybe. Well, I don't know if I can or not. Chaos Spawn, I guess I could. I have some of those, like, half... motorcycle, half painted, so I could spawn some of those, or summon some of those, but I don't know about, like, I'm sure I could summon stuff in my Death Army, even before adding the Ghost Dudes, the Night Haunts, so yeah, I'll have to look a little bit more into it, because I'm interested in finding that out. VG Morph says, Adam, what motivated the switch from paid to free groups on Game 4? Understand if you can't speak about it. What mainly motivated it was an 8-hour drive back from Columbus. Jason and Matt drove back as I was winging my way to Atlanta and all that stuff, and so I could get back to Milwaukee. and had a long conversation about it. And it was partially from Origins. People seemed like, oh yeah, that's really cool and all that kind of stuff. But we also got a lot of response from a lot of publishers who were like, hey, look, what you're going to put advertising in here, right? Because we want to advertise in it. So we're getting more and more of that. And the idea is basically like, for groups at least, we just want to make it free so more groups flip over into Game 4 and leave, like meetups or whatever else they're using, because it's a free thing for them to do. When we launch advertising, we also want to launch the ability, if you're interested, to pay to not see advertising. But that's on a per-person basis. We would hate that. It really kind of came down to, we didn't want anybody to ever really have to double dip. Like, if you're the guy who's running the group and you're paying the $5 a month for your group, but now you're also paying, let's say, $2 a month or whatever the cost is. We haven't even determined that yet. But you're paying also to not see ads. You're having to pay us twice. So we were like, it might just be better to have advertising out there so the people who can just look past advertising don't have to worry about it, and they can use the app for free and do all their stuff in their groups and all that jazz. And then and then nobody has to pay for groups. And then the people who are just like, and then we can make the revenue off of that, which is a fine, way to do it. Especially since we're looking at not just like putting normal like Geico and Candy Crush ads in there. We're looking at putting game publisher ads, game company ads in there, and that kind of stuff. And then if you're like me, where if you use an app enough, you will pay to get rid of the ads because you're kind of adverse to advertising, like I am, which is funny since I work in marketing. Like my weather app that I use all the time, I pay, to not see the ads in it. That's just a thing I do. I'm like, I'm helping to support them. I don't have to see the ads now. It's win-win. We'll be adding that level as well. So that's kind of it. They talked about it on the 8-hour drive back from Columbus, and they ran numbers in the car, and they were just like, well, and then we got back and decided, let's go this direction. And so that's kind of where that came from. It was not so much like people were like, well, I won't pay $5, because it was a third the price of Meetup. It wasn't that. It was a lot. It was actually more reaction from companies coming to us and saying, we want to advertise in this. And so we didn't want to be seen kind of as double dipping and saying, hey, you have to pay for groups, but you also have to look at ads. You know what I mean? If you don't mind looking at ads, you get to use the groups for free. If you don't want to look at ads, then you as the user pay, and then you don't see the ads anymore. And then your other people who are in your group, maybe they don't care, so they don't pay, and that's fine. But that's kind of the thing. And when you want to have the ads really work, you need to have more people in the thing. So we just looked at it as like, we don't want to make a barrier to entry to people. People are like, well, I was going to switch my group over. It's going to cost $5 a month. Which again, if they're already using meetups, their meetups cost 3 times that. So, but we just were like, we just want people to start making more groups too, because there's people out there who aren't doing anything for a group. They don't have anything but maybe like a weird Facebook group, and they want to have something that's a little bit more useful and that can get more people into their group. And we go, look, we have this thing for free, So that's why we went that direction. All right. Justin Hamrick said, yeah, I asked my Game Workshop store to use Game 4, but their company's policy doesn't allow for it. Can only do Facebook. That is interesting, because we've had probably half a dozen different game stores or Games Workshop stores get verified. We just had one actually last week get verified so they can put their events in there. So I don't know if it is a company policy at this point. Maybe it is, but if it is, it's very new, because we've had these other guys who are already signing up, and we've had as a company had conversation with Games Workshop about, look, you guys have all these stores, we can work with you to get them verified so that you can have access and blah blah, blah and all that stuff. So that's kind of in progress. But yeah, I mean, if they don't, and it's fine. But currently, I don't know of that being the case, because like I said, we already have a bunch, like probably 6 so far already, that are signed up with Game 4 to run events or to have events in the app and stuff like that. So that's cool. But I mean, it doesn't not seem like something that Games Workshop could do down the road. Potentially, they might just be like, yeah, we only use this, and if that's the thing, that's the thing. But it's interesting. Twerch says, pretty soon you'll need a passport to fly within the U.S. I should not need, because I've got the little fancy ID now with the star on it or whatever, the real ID. So now I don't need to use a passport to fly in the States. But I know that, yeah, that's allegedly coming like in 2021 or something like that. If your state doesn't have the real ID, or if you don't have the real ID, then you need a passport, which is crazy to me, but whatever. So I just went and got, you have to take like your birth certificate and some other stuff, and when you go to get your license, and then they'll put the special symbol up in the corner that evidently means that you're cool. I don't know. Zombie Boy says, I wish I could go to Valhalla. I fear my wife would divorce me if I spent $2,000 on annual holiday without her. Yeah, no, I could see that. I could certainly see that. Yeah. Frankie Lee Bailey says, hashtag Uncle Adam's Irregulars on Instagram. What is everyone else working on today? Let's share with each other. That's not a bad idea. VJ Morph says, I'm working on shaking off this hangover. That's, I think the best cure for hangover is to not drink heavily the night before. Otherwise, I got nothing. And I know that sometimes it doesn't work out. I do know that. Yeah. Let me see here. Wet dwarves. Man, I hope they don't make undersea dwarves. That would be weird. Boop boop badoo, talking about Sydney to anywhere ain't cheap. No, that's probably true. I can understand that. Nottingham to Sydney is double the cost of anywhere else. Really? Well, that's weird. Talking about casting. I just saw something about a vacuum chamber. If you are serious, you need a vacuum chamber for sure. See, do you need a vacuum chamber or a pressure pot? Because I've heard you don't necessarily need both, but you can get away with one, but I need to do more research if I ever get down to that point. There's a good chance I may just give my friend the stuff and say, make me a mold, and then I can pour my own junk or whatever, but I don't know. We'll see. I think that maybe like one is better for actually when you pour the mold, and the other one is for when you make the mold, or I don't know. I gotta look. The great thing is that anytime that I want to figure that out, I can just go into Google and probably learn it pretty quickly. So, yeah, that's really helpful. Mac the Maker says, hey, I've got a bunch of prints from the Form 2 that I'm going to do some casting with. That's pretty cool. Form 2 is very fancy. It's a resin printer, so you don't really have much in the way of those little lines. Zombie Boy says, I have utmost respect for you and your hard work. Chinking you a symbolic glass of bourbon. Respect on your mission statement. Well, thank you very much. There's no bourbon in here, but I appreciate it. I do. Randall says, stress levels are a major reason I got back into the hobby and building terrain. I've noticed a lot of folks that do related YouTube programs also use it to relax and deal with other issues. Oh, absolutely. VJ Morph says, maybe I should make my adventures into casting into a YouTube channel. I totally think you probably should. I would take a look and see what else is out there, because I bet there's probably some, but yeah, it's not a bad idea. I would totally subscribe. So will Randall, according to the chat here. Nice, Adam. Great to hear it was motivated in a positive way by companies supporting the app. Daniel Anthill says, painting skeletons. Painting skeletons is always, well, I was going to say is always good. I guess if you had 1 million you had to paint, that wouldn't be good. That's a lot. Ooh, I'm almost caught up. Neat. VJ Morph says, Adam, what is that horned helmet on top of your wall unit? Oh, it's there, right there. Yeah. So you'll notice it's like a there's a helmet and there's horns, and then to see these orange things hanging down, those are built-in braids. Now you might think to yourself, oh, Adam, you've got a funny hat that you can put on, but it's like forced perspective. That is actually cat-sized. So that is for our cat Diesel. He does not like it. We put it on him once, and he was very sad. But somewhere I've got a picture. Oops, clunk. Sorry. Somewhere I've got a picture. I'll maybe eventually see if I can try to find it and put it up someplace, maybe in the Irregulars. Yeah, he was super defeated when he wore that. But yeah, it's like a little plush. They got it from like Petco or whatever, but it's a plush Viking hat for cats. And then he's got the little braids and all that jazz. It's spectacular. So yeah, we also have him a tie somewhere. He's got like a tie with a collar, and like you put it together in the back with Velcro, and then it looks like he has like a white collar, and then there's a tie, and then he's a business cat. That you can probably find on my Instagram. So if you go to Instagram, just to Adam Loper, Loper, and you scroll down a ways, you'll probably find... Wait a minute. Can I do that? What if I go here, and what if I go... Instagram, and Looper. Okay. And then I have to go to... Where's the web one? Oh, that's weird. That's not what I wanted. I want not this window. Close you. Add source. Screen capture. There we go. That's really small. Let me blow you up. Blow you up. Blow you up. There we go. And we'll move you down one. There we go. Look at that. Fancy business. Anyway, there's Diesel right over there. There's more Diesel. That one's Maggie. That one's Margot. That's Maggie and Margot. That's Margot. This is Emily's band. Dr. Kickbutt and the Orchestra of Death. There she is playing the thing. Washtub bass. More cats. A lot of cats. If you follow me on Instagram, you're going to see a lot of cats. And some Slimer butt, as it turns out, too. So that's fun. Cats. Giraffe. Sandwiches. Bonfire. Jets. So this is when I used to work for that airplane people. More cats. Why'd I come here again? Oh, yeah, the tie. So this is the other cat, or one of the other cats. This is Carlson. He's wearing the tie there. It's a lot of fun. Oh, I take it back. There's Diesel in the... that's him looking defeated in the the Viking helmet. He was not happy about wearing it. So now there's your long answer to what is that thing behind me. It's the cat Viking helmet, and so that's a lot of fun. But there's another picture in here somewhere of Diesel wearing the tie. I swear to the... It's in here somewhere. Well, anyway. Nope. 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 There's more Diesel. There he is. There's Diesel wearing the tie. Diesel is totally happy with his new tie. You can totally tell. Yeah. So, anyway, that was a fun little detour. VJ Moore says you need a pressure pot more than you need a vacuum chamber. Yep, pressure pot is more important for casting. Vacuum is more for mold making. That's a good thing to know. Mr. Bristol says, first one of these I've made in Bloomin' Ages. Hey, Uncle. Well, hello, Mr. Bristol. And John Jay made it as well. Hooray. Anyon said, same here. I missed the last 3 or 4 because I was at school and driving on home the weekends. Yeah, that can be. Because you shouldn't watch YouTube while driving. Just going to tell you that right now. So, yes, there's been some pictures. I think my ginger cat would probably rip me to shreds in my sleep if I put a hat on him. Diesel's green eyes always look amazing. Great band name. Yes, Dr. Kickbutt and the Orchestra of Death. I'm painting the Marshal from Death Chords of Krieg. The coat, light matte blue. I don't know what color the collar should be. Black seems boring. I'd go with like a dark gray, maybe. Especially if it was a cool gray. It might kind of tie both of them together pretty well. Like you've got a light blue or a flat blue kind of. Matte blue, and then throw like a light, like a darker but cool gray. I could see doing that. That would work out well. Or make the collar look like it's made out of leather, so you go more of a brown. Then you've got the conflicting colors, not conflicting, complementary colors to some degree, where you've got the cold and the warm. Because brown is close to orange, and orange is the complementary color to blue. So that might be a way to go too. So yeah. Useful G says that explains the stream interruptions. Revenge. That picture with that was a long time ago. That Viking helmet image was from a long time ago, and I don't think cat memories are that good. But yeah. So yeah. Diesel looks like he's ready to rage flip the printer in that tie. No, he probably is. I mean, nobody likes printers really. They're kind of garbage. Zombie Boy says, it's 7:30 p.m. here, and I'm making my wife and mother-in-law dinner. Gotta go. Great catching up with everyone. Well, yeah, it was good to see you as well. Good luck making dinner. I'm not good at it, so I would definitely need luck. BJ Morph agrees that it certainly puts his drumming on the recycling into context. Well, yeah, that's to some degree true. But yeah. Yeah, that was... we haven't bought any other, like... Actually, I take that back. At some point, we had antlers. There's a picture. There was definitely Christmas antlers at one point. Where... Trying to find the image. I know you guys can't see this yet, but I'll find it. Oh, here it is. Boop. Yes, so again, not happy kitties. This is Sapphire. When we first got Diesel, we got Sapphire at the same time, and they were the same age. They're about 1.5. This was back in 2007, and Sapphire, she was kind of mine. Like, she liked me a lot, and Diesel has always been Emily's. And but yeah, Sapphire passed away back in 2014 or so. So kind of early. It was a bummer. But then we ended up getting eventually 3 more cats. So now we're kind of choked with cats. But neither of them, as it turns out, liked the Christmas antlers either. So those were actually, I think, on loan from my mother, if I have to be honest with you on that. That I don't think we bought those. I think they were originally for dogs. Maybe that's why they didn't like them. So yeah. BJ Morph says, my cat has a Christmas elf hat. She hates it. Yeah, cats just don't like hats. I think if... You know, like, if cats really dug hats, you'd probably see them wearing them more often. Like, they would bug you until you put the hat on, and they'd be like, okay. Like, sometimes Diesel bugs us because he wants to go outside. And we don't let him outside just by himself, because we're just kind of not into that. We know he would get run over by a car, because he's not the smartest of all possible cats. So you take him outside, like, on a little harness, and then he goes outside, and he just basically eats grass for a while and sniffs things and rolls around sometimes on the driveway, and then you bring him back in, and then eventually he throws up the grass, which is fun. But yeah, he will get annoyed if he doesn't get to go outside when it's nice out and like we got all the windows open. He doesn't really care as much to go outside when it's snowy. He thinks he does sometimes, but then, yeah. Anyway, I've been talking a lot about cats and not about wargaming. Mr. Bristol says, Uncle, one of my little fellas is going to be holding a banner. How the heck do I freehand an Inquisition symbol on it without looking entirely rubbish? That is a very good question, because I don't particularly know the answer. I stink at freehand. It's not that I can't draw. I can. I went to school for art, so I can kind of draw. I'm not bad at it. It's that I have a very hard time drawing with a brush. So, you could do a couple different things. Depending on how wavy the banner is, you could look into trying to either find a... like a what do you call it, decal, you know, like a water slide decal to put on that banner. Or you could, even if you really wanted to get fancy and put some time into it, you can buy like printer paper that is designed for water decal. You can buy, there's a kind for laser printers and there's a kind for inkjet printers. And then you can actually make your own water slide decals, and then you could then transfer that onto the banner. Now, if the banner is very wavy, got lots of folds in it, that really becomes very difficult to do. In that situation, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you've got the option potentially of, like, if you could find a good stencil and try to airbrush it, but again, if it's real wavy, that's not going to work. I would practice maybe a bunch. I think there's more to it than just, I need to know how to draw. It's also knowing how to have the right brush, the right fluidity to the paint, the right amount of paint in the brush, all that kind of stuff really helps a lot with freehand. I would probably do a bunch of Google searches and a bunch of YouTube searches for how to paint freehand. If you just type in how to paint freehand, it's not going to work out well for you. But if you type it like how to paint freehand wargaming, or miniatures or something like that, or how to paint freehand banners wargaming, that kind of search might help you out a bunch. Yeah, if you just type in how to paint freehand, you're going to find all kinds of stuff that have nothing to do with wargaming. Like, I know Sam's super good at it, but we have not done a video about it, partially because it is kind of a little bit more difficult. It's a little bit higher level to some degree. So, yeah, it's not easy. I would love to be able to do it a little bit better, and I'd love to be able to tell you how to do it, but I currently haven't been able to completely figure it out. So, and I haven't really, like, I've got a couple of banners that, like, I've got my Chaos, Age of Sigmar army, I've got a goat person who's got a banner, and I've also got, for my same army, one of my Chaos Warriors has got a banner. Because you get, like I said, an added bonus, you know, if you've got a banner person and if you got a musician. So they're both just straight, like, red banners, and they're blank. So it's like, it doesn't look terrible because they're just wearing, like, they're just holding a red banner, and that could be kind of scary, just like, oh, he's coming at me with a red banner, you know. But I do mean to eventually actually put some sort of symbol on there, and I just haven't been able to pull it off yet. So yeah, I just got to figure that out. But it's hard. It's not easy. So I don't have any good, other than telling you kind of like keywords to maybe do some Google searches on. That's probably my best stuff right now. That and if it's not too wavy, you could do a cool water slide thing. Like, I've kicked around the idea of doing that with the Beastman, because that banner it's not straight. I mean, it's actually kind of like a triangle shaped banner, because, you know, they don't know how to cut things properly, the Beastmen. I think they don't have scissors. I don't know. So they probably just use a knife, you know, like this. Anyway, it's a ragged kind of banner, but it's not super folded. It's not super crazy wavy. So could potentially get it in there. I would then gloss the heck out of it, just that part, and then put down the water slide and try to get as much of the water, you know, kind of like out from underneath it. Definitely get as much of the air bubbles as possible out from underneath it. And then as soon as it dries, you immediately just coat it in another layer of gloss varnish, and then matte everything afterwards. If you don't do that second, if you don't put a layer of gloss varnish underneath the decal, it may look great at first, but over time, as the water underneath it disappears and kind of slowly like leaches out, it's called silvering, and you will see like almost like a little bit of whiteness underneath it, and then it will look, you'll be able to see like exactly where the decal is, like where the lines are. But if you put down the gloss coat, you're good about it, and then you cover it with gloss coat once it's dry, then like I've got Flames of War tanks that I did that with, that still to this day you can't see the decal, the edges of it, or anything like that. I know there's microsol and microset. I've never had great luck with that stuff yet. This is just, for me, easier. You throw down gloss, you put your stuff down there, make sure it's nice and solid, let it dry, throw gloss over the top of it, and then go back and matte varnish later. And I've had great luck with that. So that's something, honestly, I should do a video about it. I should do it with that goat person. I should design something, print it out. I've got a 3D printer. I do have a 3D printer, but I'm not going to try to make decals with a 3D printer. I have a color laser printer upstairs, so I could use that and give it a try. The only thing is that the color laser can't print in white, and I think because it's a dark red banner, well, I could print in black and like some other muted colors. It doesn't need to stand out and be white. That might be kind of interesting too, because it wouldn't pop so hard off of the banner. Oh, anyway, yeah, these are ideas. So yeah, that's the best I got right now. Torch says my little dog has a Yoda costume. She hated it. Yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, if they would talk to the animals and say, "What do you think about this costume?" most animals would be like, "No, I don't want it." But they never talk to the animals. They never do any kind of like survey monkey or any other kind of survey animal at all. They don't do any of that kind of stuff. You know, to ask the animals, what do you think about costumes? Because I think that they would be surprised that, well, maybe they're not surprised. They understand that people like me are like, well, that's hysterical. I'm going to totally put that on my cat. But really, the cats, I don't think, enjoy it. Let me see here. What else we got here? Someone talking about paper here. What do we got? I'm backing up a bit. Certainly puts drumming on the recycling in the context. Yep. Mr. Bristol is a bit too wavy. Paper sounds interesting. Cheers. Not a problem. Emily says you can paint clear nail polish onto wax paper. And then she backs up and says, sorry, actually parchment paper. So you paint clear nail polish onto parchment paper. Then paint what you want on top of it. It peels right off, and then you can glue paint it on even if it's wavy. That's kind of interesting. I'll have to take a look at that. That's an interesting thing. Duncan, according to Useful G, Duncan from Games Workshop's channel, Warhammer TV, Duncan has done some freehand videos which might help. So yeah, definitely, I would definitely do video research before you start going down that road. And I would even probably practice on something that's not your model. Like take a plastic spoon, prime it, and then start practicing on that kind of stuff. Yeah, I kind of want to try that thing with the clear nail polish too. Clear nail polish on parchment paper, and then paint what you want on top of it. Interesting. What else have we got? Also, make new banners out of tomato puree tubes. I don't even know what that means. What's a... Oh, out of the like the foil or the plastic? I've heard that before. I've seen people do green stuff banners. Like if they want to make their own banner, they'll take green stuff on like saran wrap and they put something in there, olive oil maybe, so it doesn't stick to the saran wrap, and then they take it between two pieces and they run it over it with a roller and get it nice and flat, and then you have to wait till it starts to get a little dry but not too dry, and then you peel it apart, and then you kind of drape it and get it and form it. It seems like a ton of work, but if you want like exactly the perfect banner that you want that looks exactly right, evidently that's the way to go. So yeah. VJ Morph says, speaking of videos, Adam, how's that finger gluing video coming? It's actually coming soonish. Now that I'm not traveling and running around like an idiot for an entire month, I definitely want to push that one because I know, well, because I used the same technique on the Night Haunts here. Like these bases are all... Can I get this crap to focus? Maybe. Maybe not. Anyway, there you go. These bases are all CA glue and baking soda, and the big chunks are kitty litter. And so that's... I've had people in the video asking, like in the comments, like, hey, how did you do those bases and whatnot? And so I do, and someone were asking about the paint, you know, but other ones were asking about the texture. And so I do need to make that video. And then probably at the end, kind of like after a post-credits kind of Marvel bit, you'll get to see the old try on that one. When I'm going to have to use some bleeping, I think. But yeah, we'll see how that works out. Anyon says, I've found microsol to be indispensable for getting decent looking decals on my Space Marines. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people love it. I know for definitely if you're trying to get like something to curve real nice like that, when I was talking about doing those Flames of War tanks, like that's on a relatively flat surface. So that's a lot easier in those situations. But if you're trying to get a decal onto a shoulder pad, like a Space Marine shoulder pad, number one, congrats, because that's hard. That's kind of that I would not go down that road because it seems really hard and fiddly to me, and I would get angry with myself. So if you're able to pull that off, awesome. But from what I understand, if you're going to be pulling it off, you really have to use that stuff, because what the microsol I think does, sol is short for solvent, and I think it actually like completely like softens up the material so much that it becomes easier to bend and form. That's kind of where it comes from. So yeah, but I haven't gone down that road yet because I haven't tried doing anything like super bendy yet. I usually do decals on like vehicles and simpler stuff, and so it's not too bad. VJ Morph says, how's the new studio working out? Mostly okay. You will probably have noticed that it is a little noisy. Like there are times when, like, because it's downtown, people on motorcycles love to rumble them downtown at all hours of the day for reasons that I don't quite understand. So that's problematic, but it's just, it is what it is. Like, I can't really figure out a great way to go through and try to soundproof the entire place without making it look real weird. So we're just going to have to kind of deal, you know, it's part of the cool hip thing about being, you know, in a downtown studio, evidently. So, but otherwise, yeah, it's been good. I need to get back in there and hang a bunch more like pictures and stuff like that and everything. And I want to make a tour of it soon. When you guys saw the video here on Patreon a while back when it was not even like kind of started yet, and now it's a lot further along. And I can film in there. Obviously, you've seen like the last several videos, and then of course there was also the battle report where you kind of saw a little bit more of it. I'm trying to figure out like where I want to hang things and how I want to do all that. But the lighting has come together pretty well. I'm going to keep tweaking the audio a little bit to see if I can figure out a way to make the microphone pick up a little bit better on me and a little bit less on everything else, but it's a pretty sensitive microphone, so we will see. Excuse me. Tabletop Minions, how about a huge rager in the new studio? Irregular night. I don't, it couldn't be a huge rager because it's not a huge space, you know, but, we did have some, like, during TMX, some people did come because so Saturday night a bunch of us went to this bar that's right near campus. Like Sam was there and a bunch of other people, and then like moderator Matt and all those kind of guys. We like I had to make sure everything was kind of closed up and locked up so the vendor stuff was good, but they had already kind of headed over there. So then we kind of met up there, and then we walked down to another bar that some friends of mine own, and then it was time to leave, but I needed to get a 4x6 mat for the Game 4 guys because they were running Wings of Glory, which is the World War I airplane game. They were running that at TMX on Sunday, and they needed a big mat. The only mat that we had at the office was the small little mat, and if they wanted to have more people than just a 2-player game, then you need the big mat. So I was like, I should stop and grab that and then walk back to my car from there. So me and maybe 4 or 5 people who had kind of traveled along went upstairs and hung out in the studio a little bit. 3 of the guys were from the Chicago Skirmish Wargamers, and I forget who else was there. Was Matt there? I don't remember. Anyway, but yeah, and then we walked back to the college, which is where the event was held. So there have been some other people in there besides me, Matt, Sam. I think that's it. But there have been a couple other people in there now too, so that's cool. And my wife's been there because she helped me put together the workbench that's in the storage room, and she also helped me hang the curtains. So that's been helpful. Yeah, I heard the background noise on the most recent videos. The look on your face in the video is priceless. It just annoys me. I just hate loud motorcycles. It's just a personal thing. It just drives me nuts. Sam's best line after the cops went past, "Thanks for letting me in." Yeah, that was perfect timing during the bat rep. If you haven't seen the Wreckage bat rep, I'm explaining like what we're going to be doing, and like the sirens are getting louder and louder and louder outside, and then I just happen to pan over, and there's Sam right by the window, and he's got a drink in his hand. He's like, "Hey guys, thanks for letting me in," and then like looks outside, and it was perfect timing. He was good at that. The new Sparkly Pachow has been brought up. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to try something. I don't know. I did it in After Effects, and it worked out okay. I think it's maybe a little too sparkly. I like the smoke puff. I may just go straight with a smoke puff in the future that kind of fades out and not so much sparkles, but I don't know. I'm going to keep playing with it. I think it'd be funny to have a whole bunch of different ones that I could just sort of from time to time just like throw in there, and then sometimes not, just to keep people on their toes. But yeah, it was just me messing around with Adobe After Effects, which is kind of designed for that type of thing. So yeah. Sam does have great comic timing. That is true. He's been doing great with Twitch. I've watched a bunch of his stuff so far on Twitch, and he's just really good at like answering questions and like communicating back and forth with the chat, I mean, he's at a point right now, like when you watch those like super huge video game Twitchers where like the chat's just flying by, they obviously can't really do anything about that, and it seems silly to even bother to chat when it's going by so quickly like that. But when you're still kind of like, when he's doing, he's small, but for what he's doing, he's gotten to where he is very quickly, and he's doing pretty well in that area. Video games is a totally different thing, but for what he's doing, it's been working out really well. He got monetized pretty quickly and did what you need to do, become affiliate or whatever, and so he's been making a little bit of money off of it, which is good, and he's been enjoying it. That all being said, he's also, I think, just good and personable about it, which really just helps to get people to be more interested to watch. So yeah, it works out nice like that. And he's been working on all kinds of cool projects with it. And he's been working with, I think he's got a sponsor. He's got a store someplace, Texas maybe, some store reached out to him pretty quickly and we're like, hey, we want to sponsor your Twitch stream and stuff. So he's got like an icon, or he's got like a logo or something that he's doing in his Twitch stream, and I don't know if they're paying him, if they're sending him free stuff or whatever's going on. But yeah, he's doing well. It's like I said, it's about usually around I think 2:00 p.m. Central Time on weekdays, and I don't know a ton about Twitch. I think you can go back and watch some of the older ones if you want, but I don't know how long they stay. I know Twitch doesn't keep everything forever. Well, heck, why don't we go take a look, shall we? We can do that. Twitch.tv/SamsonArts. I think that's right. Ooh, the broadcaster indicated the channel is intended for mature audiences. Well, that's because there's swearing, and sometimes he was painting a Slanesh demon, and she had a lot of boobs. So there's that. I think like more than 2. You guys want to see this? I bet. Button there. Well, currently I push this, nothing happened. So. Yeah, Gamers Arsenal is the company that he's working with right now, and he's got a bunch of these things here, places and stuff. I don't know why. Oh, probably because he's not currently there. If we go to videos, it's only got, like, it looks like there's one from June 13th, June 14th, June 20th, 21st, 22nd. So I think maybe it only keeps, like, the last 5 or 6. I don't know. I'm not really sure exactly how Twitch works on that. But anyway. So yeah, you can go there and...
For months now I've been having these nightmares. But I think they were messages.
Cool. Anyway, but yeah, so you can go find out more about it and go that direction. He's been doing pretty well so far on the Twitch for all that stuff, which is cool. I'm going to stop with that now. But yeah, if you're into that, then you should definitely try to go and hang out with him and whatever it is, you know. Because you can, like, as it turns out, if you have Amazon Prime... then you get a free Twitch subscription for any Twitch person once per month, where you can like say, here you go, and then that's part of your Amazon Prime. And then, but it only lasts for a month, and then next month you'd have to do it again or send it to somebody else or whatever. But that's kind of a cool thing too. So, let's see here. Kelly says, do you have any good reference channels to suggest for pinning tiny parts of metal models? Tiny arms and legs will be the bane of my existence. Yeah, I don't know. I have not great luck with really tiny metal parts. That's why I'm not a huge fan of metal. I like metal models where there's like maybe 1 part you have to glue on, maybe 2. But like some of the early, especially the earlier Infinity ones, just like 16 parts for like a single guy who's 28 millimeter. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. That's no fun. Yeah. VJ Morph says, my wife actually commented on the new Sparkly Pachow. She was like, wow, well, that's new. Pachow Guy has new tricks. Evidently, my name is Pachow Guy. Well, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Yeah, I was just messing with, like I said, After Effects and trying to see where I can kind of go with that sort of stuff. VJ Morph says, I'm not sure if Sam's Twitch will work out great with Australian time. I have no idea what time it would even be. Well, let's see. So right now it is about the time on a weekday that Sam would normally start, because he would start around 2 p.m. our time. So what time is it currently in Sydney? Actually, hang on. Hey Google, what time is it in Sydney, Australia?
The time in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia is 4:47 a.m. on Sunday.
Yeah, so it's 4:47 a.m. on Sunday. So getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. I mean, I appreciate VJ when you get up for these, and you're a king. But yeah, I think that maybe the I don't know. It's up to you. Your lifestyle is very, if you're working like third shift and stuff, then I used to work third shift for a while, and then I would have like breakfast like when I got done with the work at 6 in the morning, but then I would go to bed, which was not a good idea. You shouldn't eat like a McDonald's big breakfast and then go right to bed. But yeah. Anyway, that's where that's at. Pachow Guy, potential superhero name. That's potentially a good idea. Boop boop badoo. VG Morph says, yep, I actually got Amazon Prime, so I get Warhammer TV Twitch channel for free. Prime has just launched in August. Oh, or in Australia. Cool. Yeah, I've never done the Warhammer one. I should take a look at it and see what it's like. But yeah. Torch says he only streams on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Oh, for a while when he first started, he did it like a whole week. But I think maybe he was just, like, you have to do a certain amount of it to hit a threshold, at which point then you can then get monetized. So maybe he was doing that like all up front. But yeah, now he's only doing it a couple days a week, which makes sense. Honestly, it seems like, you would be in a situation where it would be very difficult to try to do it 5 days a week. I mean, If it was your only job, then it totally makes sense. But it's not his only job. He's also, you know, painting commission stuff, and he's also teaching classes and doing that kind of stuff. Oh, speaking of which, if you are going to Nova Open, not only will I be there doing my YouTube classes and stuff, but Sam will be there as well, also doing his painting classes. And he'll also be at Las Vegas Open in February of 2019. So we'll both be in DC and Vegas together at the same time. So just saying, you know, if you're thinking, if you were like, well, seeing Uncle Adam would be okay, but I don't know if I want to go to Las Vegas or whatever. But if you were like, but you could also take classes from Sam, you know, just saying, you might want to think about it. Definitely. Oops, sorry about that there, VJ Morph. By the way, thanks for setting off my Google Home, Adam. Volume is on 100% and everyone else is asleep. Well, you should be listening to me with headphones. That's what you should be doing. Then that wouldn't have been a problem. I apologize. I will stop doing that. I did not realize, I did not even think about it that anybody... I always listen to this type of stuff with headphones, so that's why... sorry about that. Frankie Lee Bailey says, question, when are we getting a t-shirt with a cello case on it saying, have you seen Nick Raimondo? Maybe that's the cello's name. I mean, it's possible. Hey, Han? Yeah. She'll get back to me later. Used to be a night owl, but not either anymore. Just permanently tired. Yeah, no, I used to be a lot more of a night owl too, but now, like, I stayed up until 1 on Wednesday night and 1 on Thursday night. I had to stay up until 1 on Wednesday night to finish the painting for the Night Haunts, and then on Thursday night, the first 2 times I tried to render the Friday video didn't work. Like, it crashed, which has not happened before. So I don't know what that was all about. So it was one of those deals where I'm like, I got to get this uploaded before I go to bed. And then, so there was 2 late nights in a row, and I was very tired. And then last night we went to bed early. People want to know if we can start calling your cello Nick Raimondo.
Sure.
Hooray! So there, we got that.
You know the spelling.
Yeah, yes. Twerch says he already has a subscription button, which is super fast. That talking about Sam on Twitch. I know a guy that's been streaming for over a year and doesn't have one yet. Yeah, I bumped into a person at Origins who was telling me that they've been streaming for like 9 months and they're not quite there yet. One of the reasons that Sam was able to get it really quickly was because he was able to, like, I posted about it, you know, and said, hey, Sam's on Twitch. He posted about it, and he's got a decent sized following already from Facebook and from this and from his blog and from all that stuff. And so having all those, you know, potential faces, like building, that's the thing about this type of thing, this kind of, this new economy where you're being able to be your own publisher, for lack of a better term. Like, you don't have to go and talk to a TV station and say, hey, please put me on the air. You can just make your own stuff and whatnot. It takes time to build an audience, but once you've got that audience, then you can use that to help you be able to reach more people. You know, it kind of can spread. Like you know, I mainly started on YouTube, but I've got almost 5,000 followers on Instagram for the Tabletop Minions now as well. So that's kind of, you know, because it bleeds over. Him doing this channel, doing the stuff that he's been doing for years and years with his blog and all that kind of stuff. When he said, hey, I want to go to Twitch, like, he got the requisite amount of hours and views and follows and all the stuff you got to do really quickly because those people already knew about him. When you're starting on Twitch and nobody knows about you, and then you're like, well, I'm just going to start doing Twitch, like, nobody will ever see your stuff unless either A, takes a long time, or if B, you can get an audience from someplace else to sort of follow you over there, and then it can happen very quickly. So yeah, it wasn't like he was like completely in a vacuum. If you start on Twitch and no one's ever seen you or heard you before, then you're starting in a vacuum and it can take a long time. He had been doing, like, just my channel alone for, 3 years on and off. So that helped. And then again, like I said, his blog, and then, you know, doing Instagram and all that jazz. It was relatively simple for him to get monetized through them or affiliated or whatever you call it very quickly. So yeah. Kelly says, sure, appreciate your experience, videos, feedback, and humor, Adam. It has definitely allowed me to get some projects completed. Great background stuff. Thanks, Tabletop Minions. I appreciate it too. I am glad that you guys watch. I'm obviously, you know, I'm glad to have these kind of conversations and stuff. They're great. It's like, honestly, it's knowing, like, when people come up at like like Adepticon and stuff, and they're like, I started painting because I was watching your videos, and you convinced me to do so. That always makes me really happy. So I'm glad for that, definitely. So that's kind of a thing. What else have we got here? VJ Morph, it's always good to chat with you. Definitely appreciate this sacrifice. Yeah, well, definitely, absolutely. VJ Morph says, Adam, speaking of streaming peeps, have you seen Miniac? His stuff is pretty good. Yeah, I know Scott. Did I see his videos before I met him? I think maybe, like, because he started on YouTube, and that was cool. And then I met him at Adepticon, not this last year, the year before, or maybe even the year before that. Maybe it was Adepticon 2017. It was either 17 or 16. And then he interviewed me real quick, and like Sam and a couple other people made a video, and so I was in one of those videos from Adepticon. And then he moved into Twitch and started doing it. Like, he's got a normal day job. Like, he's like a programmer somewhere and stuff. And so he was getting up every day, like 5 days a week, getting up at 5 in the morning and doing Twitch until 7 in the morning, and then like probably, taking a shower and all that stuff, and then going to work, which like 5 days a week, which was crazy, in my opinion. I would not be able to handle that. And he did that for about a year, and it did not like it. It did fine. It's been doing okay for him, and his channel's been getting better. He's, I think, over 50,000 subscribers, or 43 or 45 or somewhere right near 50. So that's cool. I mean, he's really grown quickly, and that's been great. But he just recently had a video about how he's going to be dialing back on Twitch because it just wasn't getting, like to where he wanted to go. Like, he and I had a conversation actually recently about how, because he was like, I would really love to just do this full time. And I kind of told him what I was telling you people earlier, is that it's not necessarily a great idea to go full time if you don't have to. Like, if you've already got a day job and it doesn't kill you, then it's a good side gig, and but yeah, no, he's a good guy. I like his video production a lot, and I think he's a pretty good painter, better than me certainly. When he first started, and this is just part of starting, but when he first started, he wrote everything, and then he was saying it like he pre-wrote a script and then was saying it. And it came across that way to some degree, and then he would sometimes trip over words and things, and it would be and then eventually he did finally, he did basically finally start kind of getting his flow, and then he could speak without having to like memorize, or like he didn't have I don't think he had like a teleprompter, but he had something going on there where I think he was reading it off of his phone, and then he would say it, and that kind of stuff. And he's gotten away from that, and he comes across a lot more natural now, obviously, and so that's really cool. But no, he's a good guy. We'll probably see him again I'll see him again at least at Adepticon. It's Sam's channel is twitch.tv/SamsonArts, SAMSONARTS. All right, so that's pretty much it. It's about 2 o'clock over here in my neck of the woods. So tomorrow is the Every Other Sunday show, so hopefully I'll see some of you again as well, along with other folks. I think I'm probably talking about Age of Sigmar, probably. I might do like a unboxing. I might go down and grab all the rest of the sprues that I haven't tried to build yet and bring them up, put them in the box, and go through all that stuff and everything like that. That'll bring all the boys and the girls to the yard, as it were, that particular milkshake. I might do that, probably. I'll probably also talk about Origins. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, but I'm going to have to figure that out over the course of the afternoon. So we'll go from there. But again, I want to say thank you to all the people who came by to watch, and if those of you who are watching this recorded, I appreciate the support and the attention, and absolutely, shoot me questions and stuff like that. I always like to see that kind of stuff in the the Patreon stuff and whatever. I'll be shooting more pictures and posting more stuff of the things I'm working on now that I've got a little bit more hobby time, which is good. Like I said, Conflict 47's coming up, but I'm also going to be painting my Shadespire orcs soon. But I'll be making a video about that as well. But you'll probably see some other like step-by-step stuff as I'm going. Not step-by-step, but like mid-project. You'll see some updates. So that'll be good. Anyway, Cool. So I appreciate everybody, and I hope that you have a good rest of your day, or get to sleep, or whatever it is that you need to do next. And we'll see you in a month. But at the very least, we'll see you if you're going to be here, at least tomorrow, for the Every Other Sunday show. All right, that's pretty much it. Thanks a lot. See you next time.